Hey guys, welcome to my Compound Life. I'm your host, Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets, we build habits to manage all of our great assets. And of course, we build freedom that should really be financial freedom, time freedom for you, me, and anyone else that watches my channel. Before we proceed ahead, please remember to drop a like, hit subscribe. Let me know who you are in the comment section. I'm always excited to hear about from all of you. You know, you guys have helped me so much growing my channel. Although I'm only on 160 subscribers so far, but it's been an amazing journey on YouTube. So thank you very much. So remember to hit like, hit subscribe so that more people can discover about financial freedom, can discover about Bitcoin. Yeah, so today's video, it's all about Bitcoin. So welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Daily. At the time of recording, it's the 13th of January, about 10 a.m. in the morning. Right now, let's quickly look into Bitcoin price. Bitcoin price right now is about 92,200. Okay, so not too bad. Well done, Bitcoin. So yes, Bitcoin has been trading around 91,000 to about 92,000 in the past 24 hours. It went up a small 0.5%, starting from about 92,000, hitting a high of, I think, 92,200 and low around 90,000. So we are still, however, still 27% away from the previous all-time high of around 126,000. That was sometime in the 8th of October last year. Okay, so some might even mark that as the all-time high for the fourth Bitcoin cycle. I mean, personally, I kind of believe that was the all-time high. I don't know about you guys, but feel free to let me know your thoughts, right? So, yes. Of course, Bitcoin now currently is stalling around $92,000. Not much breakout yet. But I think here's something to highlight to all of you guys of a possible symmetrical triangle. Compression is forming. So price is clearly compressing into a triangle, as you can see here, right? It's forming higher lows, buyers stepping in earlier. Lower highs, sellers are kind of defending lower, okay? So the upper line, blue line, that's the resistance, and the lower line, that's essentially the support. So price is currently being squeezed between these two blue lines. And this tells us volatility is being squeezed. Okay, so compression like this never lasts forever. Okay, and it will have some sort of breakout very, very soon. Okay, so how soon? I don't know how soon, but I'm kind of guessing. Let's zoom in a little bit. I'm kind of guessing, you know, if it continue to be bouncing between these two lines, perhaps by end of towards end of Jan, we might be able to see some sort of breakout, right? Certainly, it does still feels the moving average is still the headwinds, okay? Because 50 days moving average indicated in this yellow line is still sloping downwards a little bit, I think, especially today. And of course, the 20 days moving average is still well above price, okay? So this means trend is still neutral to bearish. Any upside breakout needs confirmation, you know, not just a tiny wick, but it needs to have that confirmation. So if we do want to see bullish breakout, right? So here's what it needs to indicate in the chart. at least from the daily close, right? Daily close, it needs to go above the upper trend line. That's this line here, okay? Because currently this acts as a resistance, and seller have been defending this line every time price touches it. The candle closes above the upper blue trend line, so the body of the candle is above it, not just a wick, okay? So, and also we'll probably need to see some sort of volume expansion, and will be a bonus if we get some sort of confirmation that, you know, that we can hold well above that 50 days moving average, okay? So that's what we want to see or need to see in order for us to determine that's a bullish breakout. But by no means bullish breakout means Bitcoin is going back to all-time high of 126,000, because it will take time for it to establish. But I think, simply put, I somehow still feel, I mean, just simply looking at this, right? The honest read so far, yes, a breakout is coming, right? Direction is not guaranteed. Whether it's going to go higher or go lower, no one knows, okay? So we are kind of going through a decision zone, as opposed to me predicting something for you guys, right? So this is just a highlight that we'll get into a decision zone very, very soon, okay? But of course, personally speaking, you know, I still feel that coming to this, back to this chart, right? So just to reiterate, this is the white line is the current Bitcoin cycle that we are going through. So these three lines are the past 3 cycles, or past 2 cycles, okay? So essentially, when Bitcoin reach its peak, that's around here in the gray out kind of section. This is usually when Bitcoin reach its all-time high. And for Bitcoin to get to its bottom, so this usually marks the bottom, right? So this marks the bottom, this marks the bottom. This duration from here to here takes about 1 year, okay? 1 year. So far, we are already close to 3 months. So imagine if Bitcoin high was sometime, you know, the 8th of October, and then we are now around 13th of Jan. So we already, you know, kind of past 3 months now. Another 9 months, we should get to the very bottom of Bitcoin, okay? So if you have bought Bitcoin at well over 100,000, okay, the best thing is just to hodl. And besides, I mean, anyone that get into Bitcoin, you know, you should just treat it as another ETF on steroid, that you just need to keep on buying, keep on hodling and not sell. And then you will be able to see the next return in a matter of 4 years' time. Not even 4 years' time, right? Because looking at the halving event, right? So just now you see all of this. This white line that we have here is from this. It's the duration from here to here so far, okay? Right? So far, we are already here. If you pay attention to the date range, okay? So far, we are around here, okay? So what you see here is we are kind of halfway through to the next halving, Bitcoin halving. Okay, that will be the fifth halving, right? So a reminder, if you're new to the channel, the meaning of halving is essentially it means Bitcoin will be halved as the block reward. Okay, so currently at every block that gets generated, the Bitcoin miners will get approximately 3.125 Bitcoin. And after the halving event, so this is being projected sometime in April the 3rd, the total Bitcoin that gets generated per block will be about 1.5625, right? So essentially, it gets half, okay? So some are arguing the fact that 4-year cycle, it's dead. I mean, we don't have to say whether 4-year cycle is dead or not dead, right? But I still believe it's worthwhile to give recognition to the 4-year cycle because, essentially getting from here to here takes approximately 4 years. Okay, from here to here takes approximately 4 years, right? And each cycle, essentially, it marks the halving of the reward. So after the halving, because the reward will, the difficulty of mining Bitcoin will increase, and then each block, the miners only get half the reward, right? So to a certain extent, Bitcoin itself will get very, very scarce. And because of that, there will be a supply shock hit in the market, in the ecosystem. I mean, it's a global market, so based on supply and demand, there will be more and more people wanting to buy Bitcoin, especially we have now gone mainstream in terms of the adoption for Bitcoin. So we have gone mainstream. It's not just you and me buying Bitcoin on an exchange anymore. We have people buying the smart money, the old money, wealth, sovereign wealth. So all of them want a piece of Bitcoin, right? And essentially, the demand will continue to rise. The supply will continue to shrink at every 4 years. So it doesn't matter if people are arguing whether Bitcoin it's dead, that halving the cycle is dead or not. I think just bear in mind that there will be a halving event that's coming every 4 years that will result in a supply shock. The demand are constantly going up. The demand to buy Bitcoin are constantly going up. The supply is shrinking very, very fast. And so that's why Bitcoin will continue to form another all-time high, right? But we never quite know that for a fact. Will Bitcoin continue to gain this on this specific date? Maybe Bitcoin price might go up from here, okay? But I kind of think I'm speculating probably not, right? I'm still speculating that very likely it's heading down, or it might pump a little bit and get back to the recent all-time high and then followed by further dips, okay? But to that extent, I kind of felt since we are heading towards closer, we are definitely moving a lot more closer to the actual halving event, right? How close are we? I think about 800 more days left to get to the next halving event, okay? So that's why I kind of felt whomever is into Bitcoin, the original whales, the OGs, right? They're not going to put in more money into Bitcoin, buying more Bitcoin right now, although there has been so much more ETF buying, right? But for them to put in more money into Bitcoin, it could impose risks for their capital, right? So many would probably just stay on the sideline and wait, right? What exactly are they waiting for, right? So towards 800 days towards the next halving event, essentially what you need to see is this one, right? Yeah, this one. Okay, so this, just give me a smaller face here, right? So on this specific chart, the white chart here that you're seeing here, right? The 0 here marks the date when the halving event takes place, or well, took place last time. Okay, so we are now currently about 818 days, towards the halving event, right? And usually for any one of us to get into Bitcoin at a much more cheaper price, okay? So of course, if you are disciplined enough and then you want to do daily pound cost average or dollar cost average, that makes absolute sense. Do it, right? However, there will be some individual, maybe I'm guessing the OGs, or maybe people that are much more price sensitive, that they kind of keep track with the price constantly. What they might do, they might kind of look into the chart and say, hey, hang on, so for every time when halving event kicks in, so that's represented here, okay, Bitcoin will take about 500 days for it to get to its all-time high, so this is the time when the supply shock kicks in, because miners will be mining less Bitcoin, and then the supply, the demand will constantly be shooting up, so that's why the Bitcoin price goes up. So this period here essentially kind of represents this period here, okay? So many of the whales and OG, they'll probably be buying Bitcoin like 500 days, right, before the halving event, right? I would think, why buy 500 days when essentially you just buy that 100 days, essentially when Bitcoin should be at its bottom, right? So how I would DCA this time around, so I did daily DCA for the last cycle, which I kind of felt maybe I can actually achieve more if I kind of just do the full 100 days on this zone. Maybe a larger portion of DCA on this 100-day zone, right? And then the rest will probably have, slightly less buying. But anyway, it's up to you guys to decide on your DCA strategy. I've shared a DCA chart yesterday, so I think look through yesterday's Bitcoin Daily video. The link is also in yesterday's Bitcoin Daily video. So yeah, I think this is just what I wanted to highlight to you guys. We're not far from that accumulation zone. I think, if there essentially about 800 days left, right? And then if you want to DCA in earlier, right? The next DCA period will start sometime in end of November, right? And that's kind of like 10, 11 months away. Okay, so whoever wants to get into Bitcoin, at a good price, I think stacking up cash, liquidating asset, etc. makes sense, makes absolute sense. So I just want to make sure that every one of you get this point. Okay, so let's quickly look into the fear and greed index. Today, Bitcoin is at 25. So we're back in the fear level. Yesterday we were actually at 26, so yesterday was better. So yes, it does seem we are slightly dipping away from neutral. So for the week, it's 6 days on fear and 1 day on neutral. I think we are essentially back into the fear zone very, very soon. Okay, so I think a lot of news that are happening recently, but more of it are kind of bearish news for Bitcoin. Anyway, let's quickly look into ETF. Bitcoin ETF, 12th of Jan. Yesterday, it was bullish, $116 million worth of inflow for Bitcoin, mainly coming out from Fidelity, some outflow from BlackRock, but I think, it's pretty stable, but not a huge deal. Very, very minimal. So I think I kind of felt that by the time we get towards closing of the week, there'll probably be more outflow versus inflow, but we'll see. So for the week, for Bitcoin, so far it's inflow of 116 million. Compared to last week, it was bearish at 681 million. The week before was bullish at 458 million worth of inflow, right? So, so far, I think for this couple of weeks, it's all mainly outflow versus inflow. So from a retail buying perspective, it's still bearish. But certainly, looking at the bars, the amount of outflow comparison now compared to sometime in November, definitely you do sense the extreme fear of during the November and December period. Okay, and of course, quickly look into Ethereum ETF. It's a total of 5.1 million worth of inflow. So mainly of the outflow coming from BlackRock. So yeah. And weekly Ethereum. So weekly, yes, it's about 5 mil worth of inflow. And then quickly look into Solana. Solana is positive. It's inflow about 10.8 million yesterday. So that's pretty good for Solana. What's Solana's price now? Let me check. Solana price. 142. Okay, yeah, Solana is pretty strong. Last 7 days, 2.8%. Last 30 days, 7.3%. Okay, decent, I guess, for Solana. So for Solana's weekly, it's around 10.67. I think last week was around 41 million worth of inflow, and the week before 20 million. So hopefully, I think we should see continuous increase for Solana inflow for this week. Okay, so that's it for ETF update. Okay, let's now move on to the section where we talk about what causes Bitcoin price to move. Okay, so Bitcoin obviously retreat to 90,000 after failed hold of 92,000 yesterday on Trump tariffs announcement. So Trump obviously say 25% tariffs on all country trade with Iran. So it definitely made the market nervous. I think today when Wall Street opened, I'm kind of expecting to see a lot more reds, not just on Bitcoin, but on anything else, especially on growth stocks, the Mag 7. So we'll see. Maybe it's a good time to do a quick DCA. Yeah. So I think this pretty much tariffs can definitely hurt world trade. So makes risk asset like BTC, everything to go down. And the worst thing is, I mean, Trump hasn't even sorted out the Supreme Court decision on whether, the Trump's tariffs is illegal or not. And then he's also trying to add in more tariffs. So that's pretty bad. I think overall, and the fact that he's also calling himself the temporary president for Venezuela. And then I think, the deal that he was trying to bring ExxonMobil to come in to invest in the oil production in Venezuela. I think ExxonMobil came back and said the country, Venezuela, is uninvestable. So overall, I think everything looks pretty bad for Trump. And simply it's not reflecting well on Bitcoin and crypto market, because in a way Trump is being deemed as the Bitcoin and crypto president. Okay, so not good. At news of announcement at news of announcement, I think Bitcoin was down about 0.14%. So I kind of felt maybe this bearishness will continue until today kind of market open, because I think he made this news just a little bit after the market closed on Wall Street. So he does that all the time, right? So we are seeing a little bit of dip on Bitcoin as soon as he made that announcement. But I kind of anticipate more dips. There'll be growth stocks gets sold off. There'll be, ETFs that might also be selling off. So bear that in mind. And of course, news that could move Bitcoin price, Saylor is back at buying. So he bought a total of 13,627 Bitcoin that's a value of $1.25 billion. But I never quite experienced much Bitcoin price move. I think the market are already pricing in that, Saylor's buy already over the weekend. So because obviously Saylor did some posts on X to highlight that, he might be buying. So in a way, so I guess that's already priced in. And of course, other news such as privacy coin like Monero is up 15% to 604. How much is Monero now? Let me see. Monero, it's $667. And Zcash. Can I find Zcash? Zcash is up 7%, okay, to about $408 now. So I think the privacy coin, it's stealing a bit of Bitcoin mindshare away too. Short explanation why Monero, the XMR ticker XMR, and Zcash are pumping right now. So many people are worried about the government in general, right? Not just the US government, but any government out there. So, and as well as the big companies. So I think a lot of concern about government tracking money movement, etc., etc. So this is where Monero and Zcash comes in, because they kind of hide certain information, right? So Monero and Zcash are kind of deemed as the privacy coins. They hide who sends money, how much, and where it actually goes to. In comparison to Bitcoin, because everything is on-chain as long as they can track that this individual actually have this on-chain, wallet, they can essentially keeps on tracking, how much wealth you are building in your Bitcoin, right? So this is when privacy becomes more important, like now with new rules and tracking news in place. So more people, buy this coin to essentially protect their money, to protect their privacy. So I think short term traders buy fast on the news, especially when coins pump, traders, investors starts to pour in. But I think one thing for sure that you guys need to be aware of, certainly Zcash, Monero, they pump hard, but this pump, it's never long lasting in a way, right? So of course it's high risk, high reward. It's nothing like holding a Bitcoin, trust me. Okay, so be careful out there. And of course there are other news that also stealing mindshare away from Bitcoin. One of the news is miner. So Bitcoin miners, so that the miners, they actually secure the network and mine for Bitcoin, right? So the miner stock is up about 6 to 10%. On the news that Meta said they'll be building big AI computational power with the miners, right? So I think in a way, this is pretty big news, at least to support the miners, right? Because sometimes miners get into the situation where mining Bitcoin hasn't been too profitable for them, right? And then they constantly have to buy more GPUs just to keep up with the mining, just to keep up with the halving event, right? So what can they do with some of the older GPU that are still, very good in terms of, having the ability to compute all of this power, but cannot quite get into the hash rate that Bitcoin demands, right? So in a way, yes, with partnering with Meta and use more of these GPUs that might be idle for AI purpose, can help them to generate more revenues. And of course, I do understand that a lot of people, when they think about investing, right, they somehow invest throughout the ecosystem to try to de-risk in a way. So people invested on Bitcoin, very likely they also, will be investing on miners, right? So of course, I think with such news going on, it might attract more people to want to invest into miner stocks, because it's kind of also de-risking, knowing that Bitcoin might be going into a bear market soon. Okay, and then it makes sense to de-risk. And then for any miners that purely just mine for Bitcoin, it could impose higher risk, right? So that's why with such news like miners working with Meta to build AI computational requirement, I think all of this will get more investors on board to invest into miners instead of Bitcoin. Okay. I think that's it for news. Oh, there are some other news. Let me see. Yes. This one is quite a key one. And this one can potentially move Bitcoin price. But not yet. And here's why, right? So SEC Chair Paul Atkins is bullish that Trump will sign market structure bill this year. So background, new SEC boss Atkins say bill for crypto rule will, is obviously going ahead, right? And of course, with clearer rules, makes US safe for crypto kind of businesses, So I think short term wise, I think it's um, short term. I think it's bullish, but until we actually see, that it gets onto Trump's desk for signing, which I think will probably take another few weeks or months, right? So he did an interview with Fox. I think you guys should check it out. Let me just play this.
Well, the Congress passed and the president signed a bill late last year that was called the Genius Act, and that was really seminal. It was the first statute that the United States government has adopted to recognize a crypto asset. So that was great, and it helped to bring clarity also to stable coins. And so now comes the next step, a good bipartisan effort by both houses of Congress to bring certainty to the market structure regarding cryptocurrencies. And this fits in with the president's focus on making America the crypto capital of the world. So if you have clear legislation and clear rules, then you have certainty in the marketplace. And so I think we're behind it. We are very bullish on the effects of a bill getting to the president to be signed this year, and I think that'll really be a huge help to the crypto marketplace and for investors in that.
Okay, yeah. So it's always nice to have, this kind of figure coming out to endorse Bitcoin, endorse crypto, to let everyone know that, hey, Bitcoin haven't gone on the sideline yet, right? It's still top of mind consideration by Donald Trump, so that we don't head into a bear market that soon. So every now and then we still get a dead cat bounce, which some of you might find it quite helpful, because this is kind of like the time to exit as opposed to, continue stacking, right? So more of a FYI, I think, all of these are bullish news for us. Yes, Bitcoin is still one of the very, very important asset, even for me, right? So that's why I would always encourage that all of us have a hodl back as well as a swing back. Hodl back, you just keep on hodl. You continue to add into your Bitcoin hodl back. And of course, swing back, this is where you might want to buy low, sell high, and keep up a little bit on your lifestyle, right? Pay off for your lifestyle. But anyway, I think I think all of this are pretty bullish news. So, one last thing that I want to cover that can also be bullish. If you guys love hopium, I know all of us love hopium every now and then. Yeah, because Bitcoin has been pretty bearish thus far. Okay, so Standard Chartered still see Bitcoin hitting 150,000 in 2026. That's good. So bang, Standard Chartered say Bitcoin 150,000 by 2026, and then form another new time high in H1 2030. That's around, the estimation given was around 500,000. Okay, so I think it's good. Big banks predict based on the law passes, the clarity bills, etc., and then they start to give prediction on how high Bitcoin can potentially, the price can potentially goes because of more adoption, more money introduced into Bitcoin from within their customer pools, right? So potentially, I think it's all good. So yes, all good. So short-term wise, not going to have any huge impact on price, but I think the news are definitely spreading so that institutions, banks are introducing Bitcoin to their customers, and they will eventually get more adoption soon. Okay, so overall for the past 24 hours, Bitcoin, I think it's, retrace but we are seeing this symmetrical triangle that's forming. I think all is good. We'll definitely see some breakout, but maybe that would be sometime next week or so. So we'll see. And that's it for today. So if you like the content, help me out. I'm a small content creator. Just hit the like, hit subscribe, and let me know who you are in the comment section. It's always good to hear from you guys. So I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.